This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
How you doing, my man? You doing all right?
I'm doing well. I left Taysom Hill on a couple of benches. Don't need to talk about it. We're on to week 6.
Who the hell
Don't need to think about
Taysom
that.
Hill anyways, come on, dude.
You know, it's such a minefield at tight end. Tight end is so bad this year unless you have Kelsey or Mark Andrews that I'm completely sympathetic to anybody who just wants to have Hill on a roster and forget about the position entirely. Just plug him in there. He doesn't have his bye week until like week 14 or something like that. So you don't even have to think about the position until December.
No, I'm listen, I get it. No doubt that playing him like that, I guess it makes sense. It's just, did you really expect it? It's just one of those things that just happens, and
you can't possibly see it coming. It could happen regardless of matchup in any given week, right? We've almost certainly just seen his best game of 2022, if not the best game of his career. But they put him on the field in such rich situations. They put him on the field where they get inside the 10-yard line. So he always has the potential for 4 touches and 3 touchdowns in any stupid week. Anyway, we're on to week 6 here, Big O.
Yes. And send in your fantasy questions right now. You got something for Andy? You got a transaction you want to do, a trade, an injury, anything like that? Send it in right now on the chat board, on the YouTube chat board, either one. If you're on either channel, the Big O Radio Show or the Big O Radio Show Cuts channel. Also, you can send in your questions. And, of course, on the Welt and Rayom text line, that's 855-912-1056, 855-912-1056. And you can also send it in on Twitter at Big O Show. We've got the Twitter page up. So if you've got a fantasy question there, and you can super chat your question, you can also Venmo and also Cash App at Cash Big O Show. Many ways to reach out to us.
You can send a Raven. You can send a carrier pigeon. This is a lot of ways to reach us, Big O.
Yes, bro. Carrier pigeon. We still have a fax and everything if you want. You want to go fax? we can do that, dude. That's not a problem. By the way, while Tua's out, how do you look at, Mostert blew up something again we did not expect, but it does look like he's becoming the guy because Gaskin took over for Chase. So you look at it and you say, okay, now the wide receiving core and the tight ends, without Tua, this is like a barren waste for the receivers.
This is really rough. We need Tyreek to be okay. Tyreek
we need Tua to be okay.
Yeah.
So Tyreek and Waddle will be okay.
Yeah, this is really rough, and this got rough in a hurry. I think you're probably right about Raheem Mostert. I was thinking that it was a spin the wheels situation at running back a little bit, right? But a couple weeks ago, we saw him get over 70% of the snaps, and then he kind of consolidated his hold on power. I think this past week,
drops yesterday by Chase, it was like, you're out.
Mostert's a good player, and I can understand if people had forgotten, obviously, because he rarely makes it through a full season without injury. That's an issue, but it's an injury-prone game. That's not entirely on him. He's still, we also, at least the rest of the nation does. You probably don't, but the rest of the nation sort of forgets about the fact that he's, as a pure speed threat, he's like in the class of Tyreek and Jalen Waddle. Like the team speed that Miami has assembled is just almost unprecedented. It is pretty crazy. Like you guys got a 4x1, which is just not something that you normally see, even at the NFL level. But the Tyreek injury is such a worry for me right now, and obviously Tua's situation is something that those two are the keys to the entire offense.
On the flip side, watching the Jets, Breece Hall. I mean, is he a number 1 or number 2 at this point?
Breece Hall's just a great player, just a phenomenal athlete. He was a fantastic college running back. So this isn't really a huge surprise. It's a little bit. I saw a number of people on Twitter getting a little bit annoyed at how much Michael Carter was still involved. But Michael Carter's a pretty good back. He's not.
Yes.
I don't think he's a Brees
He's not
Hall
as
level back.
dynamic as this guy. This guy's more dynamic than he is. That's the thing.
Right, but he's good enough to play. And Brees Hall clearly has the number one role there, and that's like it's all fine. You don't this isn't 1978, and nobody's going to be getting 35 touches a week until they break. That's just not how the game is played anymore. So I think that's perfectly fine committee. And Brees Hall is excellent.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Rashad Penny. How should people look at this situation now that he's out for the season?
Yeah, this is brutal news. Because in part because Penny, when he's healthy, which again, that's a rarity, but when he's been healthy, he's really had some fantastic moments and carried people to fantasy championships last year. Like that, that 6-game streak that he put together at the end of the season was, I mean, he can go straight to the Fantasy Hall of Fame for that. That was incredible. He carried a lot of people. This is a pretty simple and straightforward situation fantasy wise. Kenneth Walker is the ad. Kenneth Walker was a 1,600-yard back at Michigan State last year, over 6 yards per carry. He single-handedly beat Michigan, a pretty frisky defense, right? Like he is a very good player. We saw him break off a 69-yard touchdown run, albeit, in a high scoring, no defense game with the Saints. But he only needed 8 touches in order to break off a long sort of potential game changing play. He's really good. And he just slides right into what Penny was doing. He is not a particularly gifted receiver, but we don't care very much about that in Seattle because they don't throw to their early down runner anyway. It's not like they were throwing Chris Carson. It's not like they were throwing a Penny. They didn't they never throw to those guys. So it was never a position that was going to see more than 20 receptions, 25 receptions. Walker is one of those few guys where, this happens a handful of times a year. You just want to empty the wallet in terms of your waiver budget. If you've got top waiver priority, even if you don't have a need at running back, you want to spend it on Kenneth Walker. He's a really good player who's stepping into a huge role for a team that wants to run the football.
Bills, bro, they put on some points, and the Steelers felt their pain. Khalil Shakir, they got a crap ton of receivers. What are we doing? I mean, now they're going to.
Well, and the best thing about it is they've got Josh Allen throwing him the football. So Gabe Davis and Stephon Diggs are just going to be every week guys. You're never going to not start those guys. I think that Shakir's situation is going to be complicated when Isaiah Mckenzie comes back because Isaiah McKenzie is a pretty good pro.
Yes.
Jamison Crowder lost for the year. Has got the ankle issue, or at least lost for a long time. McKenzie, he's had a couple of games now in his NFL career where he's seen like 8, 9, 10 targets, and he has produced at a pretty high level in all of them. He was basically having the season this year that I'd expected from Dawson Knox.
Sure.
Knox really hasn't made noise yet, and he was injured last week. It just doesn't seem to matter with Buffalo, though, because Allen is playing so well, and as long as Diggs is on the field, that combo together, so deadly. Shakir's a very good player. He had I don't know if it'll be classified as a drop this past week, but he did have what the eye test tells me was a drop. But found the end zone. It's Buffalo. They can put up 50 on anyone. So Shakir's one of those guys who I don't think is going to be anybody's waiver priority this week. I think among the wide receivers, that's probably going to be Jacoby Myers. It might be Rondale Moore. It might be Alec Pierce, handful of other guys. But I think Shakir is a guy that you can think of as somebody that I don't have to make a big bid for. I don't have to spend any fab dollars on him. I don't have to spend a high waiver claim. I can scoop him up. And if anything happens later in the season to any receiver on this team, Shakir is going to be a very popular ad.
I traded Kamara and Debo for Cooper Kupp and Najee Harris. I will be 1-4. Was I crazy?
No, it's not crazy. I think it's a fair deal. Kamara, I know how frustrated anybody with Kamara on a roster is right now because I've got him on a handful of rosters, and it sure felt like, I don't know, at least 2 of those Taysom Hill touchdowns should have belonged to the Kamara manager. But Kamara had a good game. Like, I think overall you can look at that and you can be frustrated because Hill took all the touchdowns, but you can also look at it and say, wow, Kamara had 20, 25 plus touches coming off of injury. So that's a great sign. He had a huge yardage total. Touchdowns are eventually going to be there. It's not going to be like every week isn't going to be Taysom Hill week. There are going to be times where Alvin Kamara getting 20 plus touches a game is going to find the end zone once or twice. So I do like him overall, but I'm not gonna argue with anybody going out and acquiring Cooper Kupp. He's coming off a historic season, and he's in the middle of potentially another historic season.
Should I drop Jonathan Taylor? Jesus Milano is asking.
No, we're not even close to that. I mean, Jonathan Taylor was like in the running, probably was never going to happen, but they were talking about him as if he might even make it back last Thursday to what ended up being an utterly dreadful game. But no, we're certainly not at that point.
All right, tonight we got an interesting one: Raiders and Kansas City. For daily fantasy leagues, for those kind of things, for guys that maybe are still making decisions, if they still have options here on Monday night, what do you like here in this game tonight?
What don't I like in this game, right? we like, I'm trying basically anything but the defenses we like here. I mean, we're not talking about defenses that are particularly stout. So I expect a huge total in this thing. If it goes north of 50, that's not going to surprise anyone.
I went over 52. That was my pick today. You like that, I guess.
I like it. Yeah. I mean, we just saw Kansas City put a huge number on a very good Tampa Bay defense that they just kind of shamed, right? Patrick Mahomes is playing incredibly well right now. The only thing I'd watch is Juju picked up like a late week practice injury, which is almost never a good sign. We expect him to play. I think he's probably going to be fine in this one, but that's a little bit of a concern. But really, Juju Smith-Schuster has been nothing more than a chain mover for the Chiefs so far. The other thing that should be interesting to watch is the backfield touch distribution for the Chiefs, because Clyde Edwards-Helaire is having this crazy season where he's finding the end zone absolutely every week. He's been like a top 5 fantasy running back. The guy barely plays. He only has one game this season where he's over 50% of the snaps. Like, he's been pretty steadily about 40% of the snaps, and Pacheco is out there, and Jerick McKinnon is out there. Like, they are rotating their running backs, and Edwards-Helaire is getting all the touchdowns. Part of me wants to say, well, that can't possibly last, but the other part of me is saying, hey, it's Kansas City. They're going to score 35 a game. Like, you want the running backs tied to this team. So it's not that I don't think, it's not that I see any reason to like necessarily trade CEH. We're just always on the lookout for more Isaiah Pacheco, because he's looked so good in small doses. He had a big role last week, and he put up numbers against a pretty good Bucs run defense. So I'm interested to see if we get more Pacheco as the season unfolds, because if he becomes a guy who's seeing 40% of the snaps alongside CEH, that's a guy we're going to be flexing.
Okay. Let me piggyback off of that. Rashad White, how should we be looking at that Tampa situation? Because Fournette's the guy, but Fournette also has an injury history at times too. Yeah. And you just kind of wonder about this season at times. And I know he got his money, but White all of a sudden is getting almost as many carries and as many opportunities. Is this more of a handcuff situation? Is he working his way to being a flex guy? How do we look at the Rashad White situation in Tampa?
I love that you ask about Rashad White, because I think he's, especially in a week like this,
I'm a geek. I'm a geek.
I've certainly never accused you of not being a geek. We know that.
Thank you. Thank you.
I really feel like White in this week in particular, right? The buys are kicking in. Kenneth Walker is going to be a hot ad. Eno Benjamin potentially going to be a hot ad because James Conner got injured. Rashad White is that guy that you can just scoop up for free, that nobody's going to be targeting, right? He's not going to be anyone's waiver priority. But this is 2 weeks in a row that we've seen Rashad White see the field a fair amount. He gained 42 scrimmage yards this past week, had a touchdown the week prior against Kansas City. Like, he's a good player. He was also among this year's rookie running backs. I thought he was the most gifted receiver. Like, he, in fact, like, we could even throw him in with the wide receiver pool, and I'd say that he was probably one of the 5 or 6 most talented receiving threats, because he made some of the most special highlight catches as a college player. I'm very interested in Rashad White. It's perfectly obvious that if something were to actually happen to Fournette, an injury hits Fournette, Rashad White is going to be a must-add player that we're all just like, okay, empty the wallet for that guy too.
Like, I look at Rashad White like the crypto market, right? We're in a downturn right now. We're in crypto winter, right? This is when you want to load up on your H bar and you want to get more Cardano and you want to get a little more Avalanche. You don't want to do it 6-9 months from now when they start exploding. Oh, should I buy now? No, you got to get it before it explodes. So
yeah, by the time Elon Musk is tweeting about Rashad White, it's too late, right?
Exactly. That's my point. And so then everybody, White. Like, what's that? What's the other kid now that is dominating? Damn it, the running back.
Damian Pierce?
Pierce, exactly.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, okay, everybody already is on that bandwagon. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying that maybe this guy turns into something, maybe he doesn't, but it's something you definitely have to watch out for.
Listen, Rashad White is an obviously very talented player. Like, he's a fun player, and if he steps into a role where he's all of a sudden going to get 18 to 20 touches, well, now he's an excellent receiving back tied to Tom Brady in an offense that can put up numbers in any given week against any given opponent. So he's going to be somebody that we're just going to again, if he takes over a full featured role, he's just going to be a top 12 fantasy running back, period, moving forward. So that's a guy you can get, if not for free right now. There's not going to be a bidding war for Rashad White, right? Like, the bidding war is going to be on Walker. It's going to be on Benjamin, a handful of other guys. White's just going to be sitting out there. He's widely available in Yahoo leagues right now. Needs to get scooped up.
Yep. One more thing. Somebody's asking, should we be concerned about Kittle at the tight end position?
Yeah, because he's their left tackle. Like, you should. I mean, the problem with George Kittle, it's not a real life problem. He's just a great football player in multiple respects, right? He's so good a blocker that for them to execute everything that they want to do, like George, and he loves it. He absolutely loves pancake.
Like Gronk. Gronk was the same way. Gronk could block the crap out of you, and I saw Gronk throw defensive ends to the ground.
Yeah, Kittle's got that in him, and they're like his favorite plays. Like, that's his favorite thing to do. So Kittle isn't gonna like grouse about it if you ask him to block all game. He'll be like, hell yeah, I get to block all game. So it's a huge concern. The other huge concern there is obviously Garoppolo at quarterback. Like, Garoppolo just gives you the same week consistently. It's like 220 and 1 touchdown. He might throw 2 touchdowns, but he didn't have more than 2 touchdowns in any game last season. Doesn't have it yet this year. You're just never going to get a big week.
Can I tell you why?
Oh, yeah.
Shanahan does not trust him to throw 35 times in a game.
I wouldn't trust him either. He already,
exactly, because he'll get you in trouble. So
the position is really hard to play, but you already lost a Super Bowl because of Jimmy Garoppolo, because Jimmy couldn't make enough plays, right? So, like, I get it. He's just the guy at the controls right now, and he's got a very low ceiling.
Right, manage it. That's all I want you to do, Jimmy. I don't need you to try to win it. Just get the ball to the playmakers. Let Debo and the boys make the plays. And so I think that's what it is. It takes away from your offense, because there's not that trust factor, unfortunately. Yep. When you trust your guy, you'll let him sling it all over the damn place, and you don't care, dude. But you can tell that, the governor is on. You're driving. Basically, for you Niners fans out there, your offense is a U-Haul truck. It's got a governor. You can't go past 65, 70. So no matter what you want to do as you're going across the country, you want to get there faster. You can't do it, baby. The governor's not letting you.
You've got your foot to the floor, and nothing's happening. Yep.
How do you like that analogy? There's a governor on the Niners.
I may steal that.
Right. You can use it all you want. All right, Andy Behrens, tell him about Yahoo Sports and what you're doing all week long for fantasy players.
Yeah, thanks, Big O. We've got the Yahoo Fantasy Football Forecast. It is our podcast that is 5 days a week. Please check that out. We're going to be discussing all the waiver priorities today for release tomorrow, and then check out Fantasy Football Live an hour before kickoff on Sundays.
And follow him on Twitter, as you see it there, at Andy Behrens. Andy, we'll catch you next week, my friend. Hope all the big wins are yours this week.
Thanks, brother. Good luck to everybody.
You got it. There you go. And when you talk about Sports Grill, baby, they got all kinds of specials going on all season long during the NFL and NCAA season. $1.50 Bud Light drafts and bottles. How about that, baby? New cocktails, $5 during NCAA and NFL games. The cherry lemonade, the tailgate tea, and $12 domestic pitchers. By the way, my wife loved the cherry lemonade. We tried it last week. Okay, we were over there, and she wanted to try the cherry lemonade, and she enjoyed it. Bone-in wings are now 15% off. Buttermilk chicken sandwiches, they added that to the menu. The buffalo tater tots are absolutely delicious. And the sauces. You know Sports Grill is known for their sauces. The buffalo sauce, the Miami Heat, the blackberry, the barbecue, the Dali. They've got all those sauces, and you can take them home with you now. And the Doral location is coming soon. And today is Monday, $7 single smash burger. Smash it at 7 great locations. That is Andy Behrens and our Sports Grill Fantasy Football Zone.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.